Hi everyone, welcome to Go About Dudley. I'm Chris King.
I'm Alexander Void.
Today we're having a film rundown where we're going to run down all the biggest news, film news, and topics that have broke out this past week. And we're just going to run them down, give you our thoughts, our opinions, and what our predictions are going to be moving forward. So Alex, let's go ahead and just break down our first topic. As you can see, Sony's hack.
Sony's still hacked. It's been hacked for a while. We keep getting information from them, which is actually pretty cool, but it kind of sucks because just any hacking is no fun. So the first news we got is actually Spider-Man. So with Spider-Man, we actually find out about Chris Miller and, what's his name?
Phil Lord.
Phil Lord. The guys who brought you Lego Movie and a bunch of other little fun stuff, making an animated movie with Spider-Man, obviously. So, your thoughts, your first initial.
Yeah, right here. They are said to be planning a comedy animated Spider movie, and it will be developed by Chris Miller and Phil Lord. So, one thing noticed right off the bat, Sony's pictures are really attached to Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They have them pending for, the 21 Jump Street series. I guess because they've seen their success that they had, right, with Lego Movie.
Yep.
And now they're trying to fast track them and to do, Batman, Lego Batman, and then do a Spider-Man comedy animated movie like in 2017. That's the rumor. And it's supposed to be fast track, so they could just kind of pull it out really quickly. We were talking about this earlier. Like, can this work? Like, is it necessary? If you look at Sony's pedigree, obviously right now, their major focus is on PlayStation. And we know that PlayStation is developing several movies. They're developing a Ratchet and Clank movie that's supposed to be out next year. The following year is supposed to do a Heavenly Sword movie. And then there was always rumors of something like Uncharted or God of War.
Yep.
And I feel like this is in the same vein of that, where you're getting a Spider-Man animated movie. Obviously a comedy, because this is going to be like much more for the kids. Obviously, that's what we're assuming. But I don't know, my overall thoughts is it's not really necessary right now, just because of the fact that can you get the web universe right first? Can you get these live action movies first? Which one do you feel is going to be more expensive? Probably the live action ones, right?
Yeah, I think the live action movies are actually more expensive. Also, like stuff like Uncharted, I believe that's actually going to be live action as well. Ratchet and Clank obviously cannot be live action. At least I can't believe it. So I don't. Yeah, I think you made it. You said it best. Where can we just get it right? Because even in the Spider-Man video games, I'm not much of a fan of it. I'm not into those Spider-Man video games. I'm not into actually the Spider-Man franchise since the 90s cartoons.
Yeah.
It's like I haven't been into Spider-Man for a while. So hearing this, it's like I trust in them. I trust in the group because they're awesome. They're funny. Like, I love 21 Jump Street. Like, I didn't know I was going to like it that much.
Right.
Then 22 Jump Street came out, like, yes. And Lego Movie, it just blew my mind. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And then the Batman movie, I think that's a little, like, forced. But I know it's going to be good. I just trust in them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they could, Will Arnett, just same, as you all know, Phil Miller, Chris Lord, they're doing really, really good stuff right now. But again, more Spider-Man news, right? Because this Sony hack is going pretty berserk. They're obviously they're trying to kind of blow up the whole ship. Just kind of get all the news out there. Leaked conversations between Disney and Sony about Spider-Man for a possible Civil War crossover. We talked about this. It must have been at least a month or two now. With our very early rumors of
on cam, yes.
On camera, yeah. This has been going on for a while now, but it was part of a film rundown a little bit back in the day about what we thought about Spider-Man crossing over to Marvel proper, and interacting with that entire Avengers world. So now the rumor is that they were actually detailing talks between Sony and Disney about him in Civil War. Okay, so not Avengers, anything like that, but Civil War. And I guess he tried to fulfill that role that he was supposed to fulfill. But again, this says multiple stuff to me. When the Black Panther was dropped, I knew there was something pretty skeptical about it. Like when they showed the concept art on the bottom right, with the artist's name and stuff, was 2014. So it looked like he kind of did it just like a month before. It wasn't anything too extravagant. It was nice, but I knew that this thing was like last minute. Everything about it was screaming to me last minute Black Panther. And I guess this is the result of that. is because negotiations broke down with Spider-Man. But two things I want to propose, so you can give us your thoughts on it. One was their first proposal was that Marvel proposed to Sony to film a new trilogy for Spider-Man that would have creative control stay at Sony.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second proposal was they would work with Sony to do a new Spider-Man film and include him in Civil War, but control would go to Marvel, and all the funding and proceeds would go 60-40. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so first to actually start off with the Marvel one, the actual 60-40. The thing there is that they have been in talks about this since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Okay, they said that they wanted to put where the Stark Towers is, that's where Oscorp was supposed to be. And then something fell through, it just didn't work out. So obviously they've been working on this back and forth for a while. And obviously, people who watch the Avengers movies, the actual Marvel proper universe, they don't need the people who watch the Sony Spider-Man movies. So the 60-40 makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. And I think that is Marvel proper helping out Sony.
Yeah.
So I would go for that plan, but I could see why they said no. I could see why they rejected it, because they had like, nope, I want to try. We're going to get the 100% proceeds and everything. So I get it that they keep trying, but the thing is that so many failures. Okay, it's been happening so much, but they could probably get right on track. They could probably find something. You know, we all lost hope in them, but I think that there's a way they could do it. As for the other one, I forgot what it was.
The new trilogy.
Oh yes, the new trilogy.
With all control staying on Sony.
Okay, so a new trilogy is something we really need, but I think that we already had our Spider-Man fatigue. I think that we reached that point where it's just like, we're gonna reboot this again, and even then they could actually pull off a bit by making the Venom Carnage movie, which everybody would be excited about, the Sinister Six, the super cool Aunt May movie. That's not happening. So it's just, I can see that they're kind of spreading it out, still owning the Spider-Man name, so that the rights don't go back. They're still making a movie that counts as a Spider-Man movie, so they keep the rights. They could just keep it rolling. So I think those are good ideas. But hopefully they find better writers, or just get a grip on what they're doing, because I think that's what they're really missing.
So, do you think Spider-Man should go back to Marvel?
I do believe it. I do believe that Spider-Man belongs in Marvel, but it is not needed. I think that they already built their own universe, that Spider-Man is not the top of their list. I think the top of their list would be something like X-Men.
Okay, interesting.
I really believe that, because they can't use the word mutants, and also that's always been their excuse for a lot of stuff.
And it's also the most successful franchise out of all the other X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man, which are the only ones that are not owned by Marvel Pictures.
Yeah.
It's the most successful. Is X-Men, and I don't know. It could be really. Okay. So my thoughts are, for instance, like with all these other properties. Fantastic Four, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I know for one, Fantastic Four, I don't want them to cross over with anything. I wouldn't want X-Men to cross over with anything either, because it's just way too messy.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. I was always interested in seeing like Torch come into a Spider-Man movie. I always thought that was a little bit more appealing deal to me, was to have Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, because they always did cross over in the comics, because they're obviously both set in Manhattan and stuff. So you always had them crossing over. But as far as this whole Spider-Man with Marvel thing, I don't know. I can't really see, although they're in the same kind of vein of that kind of lighthearted action, adventure, fantasy kind of stuff with Sony's Spider-Man and Marvel's, Avengers, I guess you could say. It's just that, I don't know, there's something about it that's very odd to me of seeing this Spider-Man interact with this Iron Man that we have.
Yeah, I agree with you. What are your thoughts on Sam Raimi coming back?
Okay, so yeah, that was another bit of the really big tidbit that was actually reported by the Wall Street Journal. They also got a piece of all that hacked information, and apparently Sony contacted Sam Raimi, and we're trying to set up a deal to see if he can come back as producer or director for the future movie. So this big question here is, like, which series is better, and would we want to see those old movies come back? I'm going to say no, because, again, we talked about this before as well. The first Spider-Man was, I think, especially for us and many comic fans, was one of the best moments in film history. It just was. because I mean, unlike the original Batmans, which were still one of the greatest movies of all time, Spider-Man was one of the first push for this superhero genre, the superhero summer blockbuster genre that we have now. That actually set the whole pace for all these Marvel movies to come. It was because of that first Spider-Man movie, and it's still one of the best comic book movies that we have. But I feel like those movies just kept getting worse and worse.
They did.
Some people argue that Spider-Man 2 was like the best.
Yeah, people could say that.
I think the first one is kind of better because it stays much more true to the high school student kind of nature, whereas Spider-Man 2 is kind of really weird. But I don't know. I don't know. For you, what do you think? I mean, obviously, I think we need a new director. I think Mark Webb has had his time, although it's obviously not all his fault. We know Sony keeps digging their hands into this pot, and they need to stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I like Sam Raimi as a director, but for other stuff, like I love the Evil Dead series. I'm kind of scared about what direction he's taking that for the next installment. And I like Drag Me to Hell. So I think he's cool in that way, the whole horror comedy type of thing. But I don't know, it just doesn't transition well into this because Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi first film, was just this big awe because it's just, this is beautiful. That suit looked expensive. Of course, that high school student could not build that suit.
Yeah.
But it looks cool. It looks good.
One of the best costumes in film.
Pretty.
It is really nice.
Yeah, so there's that. I didn't like 2 and 3. I like Spider-Man 2 and 3. And as for the new Spider-Man, I really liked it. I'm one of the few people who actually like the new costume in the Amazing Spider-Man, the first one. I like that costume. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a new take. It reminded me a lot of Miles Morales. So it's a cool costume. I'm happy they did change it back to the original look, the big eyes and all stuff. It looked cool. It looked good. I love Mark Webb. He does good character, but he made a great Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy, but he did not make a very good Spider-Man. I don't know. Spider-Man did make fun of his enemies, which I thought was really cool, but there's something about it just didn't feel right.
So I think this is the biggest issue here that I just kind of realized with Sony. I think what they want to do is, they want to set up Spider-Man because they're putting a lot of focus on villains with a lot of these Spider-Man movies, which is something that Marvel doesn't do that. Fox doesn't do that. They focus on their protagonists, but Sony for some reason are very interested in their villains. They want to see that kind of relationship between the antagonist and protagonist. So what they want is a really good idea where they want to set up all the villains, because we know in Spider-Man 3 they were like, well, you need to add Venom. He needs to be in this movie, right? And Raimi didn't want that. So same thing with the main Spider-Man 1. Mark Webb, Spider-Man 2 wanted to focus on Electro and all that kind of stuff, and they're like, no, we want the whole Sinister Six in there as well. So I guess they're really trying to push out some of these other movies for Venom and Sinister Six, but the problem is that they don't have someone to make that plan. They don't have Kevin Feige, Joss Whedon, Kevin Tsujihara, DC, or any of those other guys, Fox, to kind of set out the entire game plan for them, like Bryan Singer over there. So instead it's just like you have 15 Sony executives saying, yeah, I want this. Yeah, put this in there too. So I think that's just what it comes down to.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, way too many cooks in the kitchen. But I don't think that handing over Spider-Man to Marvel is going to solve anything. Because although we might get the best Spider-Man movie, it probably won't happen until 2019. And we probably won't get another one until 2026.
Yep.
So
he has to throw himself into the world.
Yeah. I would rather have a Spider-Man movie every year, every 2 years from Sony that are, good than have a really perfect, Marvel movie. At least for now. Because Spider-Man is probably my top 3 greatest heroes from Marvel.
It's the most relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all the Spider-Man news that was been hacked out. I'm more than certain most of the stuff will continue to be hacked out from those hackers and stuff. But along with that, so in this picture we have Scott Rudin and Amy Pascal. We're big fans of the movies that they have worked on, right? But apparently they're not big fans of each other. So Pascal was contacting Rudin because she wanted him to meet with Angelina Jolie in order to get Fincher to direct Cleopatra.
Yes.
So this is Rudin's remarks. Okay, I'm going to try to get through this really quickly. You're involving yourself in this massive and pointless drama that is beneath you. You're entitled to say no. You've been consistent about it with which was in fact your only obligation, If you engage in this again, we will end up losing Fincher on the one we want him to do, and we'll be stuck with shoving him onto a movie with no script that underneath it all, you know in your heart and your brain, should never be made. I've told you exactly how I want to do this material. It's the only way I want to do this material. I'm not remotely interested in presiding over a 180 million ego bath that we both know will be the career-defining debacle for us both. I'm not destroying my career over a minimally talented, spoiled brat who thought nothing of shoving this off her plate for 18 months so she can go direct the movie. He's talking about Angelina Jolie right there. So, really harsh words.
They're really intense.
From Scott Rudin. But, I mean, you guys can go find the emails online. Amy is just pretty much retorting, just saying, look, we need to meet with her. She's a celebrity talent right now. You know, she's hot right now. I want to meet with her so you can see what she has to say. But obviously, Rudin, as a producer, okay, you worked on your own movies before, so you can understand where he's coming from. He wants to get the movie that he's focused on right now done. Mm-hmm. And he's also protecting Fincher's interests. Because he knows that if you hand a director, you know, 2 different movie projects at a time, they're going to start cooking up the ideas for both, and you're going to distract one. Mm-hmm. I think that the Jobs movie we talked about before is Oscar bait. You know, so what are your thoughts on this whole ordeal?
Okay, so Rudin knows how to make a movie. He knows how to pick talent, and obviously he loves Fincher, and we all love Fincher, even though The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo wasn't the big success that they wanted. Also, there was another recent Fincher film that didn't explode. I don't want to say it's Gone Girl, because Gone Girl got that traction, I guess, what it wanted. But, so it's nice to have a producer who actually cares about the director, because the director kind of gets pushed off, because they get sent out back and forth. But also, you should care about your talent. You should care about your actor, because if you have a really good director but a really bad actor, you know, it's just, you have to complement each other. So in this case, I could see why she wants Angelina Jolie, but that's just because of a name. It's simply because of the name. They stated that there is no script for Cleopatra. They stated at least not a good script for Cleopatra. So why would you make a movie if you have no good script? Because isn't that the beginning? Is that the basis of this? So what he said makes sense. The whole $18 million ego bash, I think that was it, ego bath. That's exactly what this is. It's exactly what it is, because there is no script. So they just want to make a movie out of, hey, Angelina Jolie kind of could portray as Cleopatra person. Let's just throw a bunch of gold money, make her look pretty, so on and so forth. So I don't know if this is just a thing because of Exodus or any other movie like that. So I'm not interested in it. I don't like this middle school back and forth thing, but I could see his frustration.
It's very interesting because you get an insight into Hollywood.
Yes.
You know, and how Hollywood works. Because, I mean, Scott Rudin has produced multiple Oscar-winning movies, especially for Sony. You know, so obviously they have him in the wheelhouse. But I also think, for one, Cleopatra is not in Fincher's wheelhouse. Like, he doesn't do those like kind of fantastical, not really fantastical, but I don't know. That is a set in such a long ago period of time. You know, at least that I can think of, as you mentioned.
But Case of Benjamin Button is the only one I could think of, and that doesn't even count as too far back.
It's a little bit of period piece, but not like Cleopatra. Angelina Jolie, for obviously all she's really interested in is biopics, you know, kind of documentary style kind of movies and stuff, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not original, and well, neither is Jobs. But the way Fincher works is he makes it original. He makes it like this is an alternate version of The Social Network. This is an alternate version of Gone Girl. And this would have been a little bit of an alternate version of Jobs, you know? So I think that's what Rudin understands, and obviously Jolie, I think she's just kind of throwing around her star power. The weird thing about it, though, is that Amy Pascal seems to not understand that. And I guess it's because, again, it's easy to be an executive and say, well, this could be $500 million, but this Jobs one will probably make, you know, $20 million, but we'll get a ton of Oscars. And Rudin, obviously, he doesn't care about the money at this point. Like I said, it's just going to be $180 million down the drain. He wants to go for those Oscars, and he wants to make a good movie.
Make a good movie, make a good name. Like that's what this is about. That's what this game is. So it sucks because I believe that this is what ruined the Jobs movie.
That's a very good point. Later on in the email, he just says, you know, okay, we're taking Universal, and Amy freaks out. So she tells the upper executives that they're get rid of them. You know, so very unfortunate to see. I'm gonna go out and say I just think Impossible should be fired at this point. Someone, at least among the people that should probably consider firing, because obviously Sony Pictures is in jeopardy.
Yes, yeah.
Not just with the hacks, but just in general. You know, Sony's bleeding money, and if you have people like that running the ship, you can see why it's sinking so quickly.
Yeah,
you know?
I
So,
agree.
yeah, there's the whole Sony debacle, but we have another bit of leaked news. So, according to Sony Hacks, the picture studio was planning a 21 Jump Street Men in Black crossover that would have the changes with having Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum take over the Men in Black agent roles. So Hill responded in one of the emails that was leaked. He said it was clean, rad, and powerful. And according to the hack, the film would have been coming out in 2016 or 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So we all saw 22 Jump Street, right?
Yes.
And we saw the credits and a whole bunch of those kind of movies and stuff. There wasn't really any mention of some of the Men in Black, but there was like in 2121 like a
In
space.
space, yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to see this crossover happen?
Yeah, the 2121 in space thing is a joke out of a bunch of things. Like, now we gotta go bigger, we gotta go higher. So I thought that was cool. As for this is genius. Like, it took me a while to wrap my head around it. I was just like, how are they gonna do this? How could this even happen? Will they be back? And it just, now thinking about it, that could be really funny. That could be really cool. It's a nice nod to everything. You know, it's just, we're gonna see Frank again.
Yeah,
Sure, we'll see Frank
that'd
again.
be so
It's just
awesome.
like a lot of things you could touch on. We'll be asking, where's Agent K? And but I think that it could just become its own thing. Just get into this world, take it to your own adventure.
Yeah.
It just sounds cool. And then from there, it could just open up in other things. Like, it could open doors to other things, and that's how you keep this going.
We can reboot the Men in Black franchise.
Mhm. That too.
Yeah.
That too.
You know, one of the things I was noting was we were talking about what kind of franchise they own. You know, Underworld, 21 Jump Street, Men in Black, Spider-Man, James Bond. They own a lot of properties that are not big household names, but that we as fans know. Like Men in Black, wasn't that Dark Horse Comics? It's a comic series.
But yeah,
I can't remember
it's
which one.
comics.
I think it's definitely either Dark Horse or Vertigo or.
It's one of the smaller ones.
Yeah, but that's crazy. And actually, that was more what I was a fan of, especially the animated series, because the animated series was a lot closer to the comics. Yeah, a lot closer to the comics than the movies were. You know, the movies were very just kind of very funny. You know, they took what the whole concept of Men in Black and just kind of made it into a comedy. I would like to see it go back to its roots. That'd be kind of crazy. And if you do a 21 Jump Street, you have to do rated R.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming you have to do rated R. They could always do PG-13, of course, but I don't think that's the way to go. I think that, like the aliens that are smoking and stuff,
Yeah.
they're very vulgar. So there's a lot of vulgar stuff in the Men in Black movies because the comics were like that. They're twisted. They're messed up, So I think if you push that kind of stuff, you can easily reboot the franchise there. I want to see if they do 2 new agents because Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones will return. I want to see Seth Rogen and James Franco.
That would be fun.
Yeah, because see
It'd be
all
really
4 of
fun.
them. That would be really cool.
And then Johnny Depp just pops up again and it's
As
just like,
an alien or
hey
something.
guys, it's like, this is where I've been the whole time. Because
be
from
so
old
awesome.
school
I mean,
20 Jump Street.
And you look at the beats of these movies and stuff; they're very close to how they all kind of work out with like struggles and then you have a lot of comic relief. Then you have the climax of action and stuff. The formulas work very very well. So I think it would be pretty cool.
This fits.
It really does. It really does. On multiple levels. So this is one of our second last stories, but Jeremy Irons, big fans of Jeremy Irons because he's done a lot of incredible work, so a lot of TV work too. So I was really excited to see him cast as Alfred. I'm one of the people who I love Ergon, the whole book series, and when they did the movie adaptation, which was a bomb, it was terrible.
No,
movie.
it didn't even continue it.
Yeah, I know. Which, I still contend that if someone should redo that series, if not, we'll probably redo it at some point. But Jeremy Irons cast as Brom was kind of very similar in character to what Alfred is. He's a little bit strict, but he's like a father figure and stuff. So that was one of the key things that I thought would make the movie good. The movie bombed, but that's kind of what I want to see with Alfred. So he quotes, he will have a small role, but he will be hands-on.
Yes. He'll be a little more hands-on. So it's nice to hear that his role is not too big because I think that this movie is way too packed with a lot of people. But him saying that is a little more hands-on makes me think of the comic book Batman Earth 1, where he actually is fighting. He's teaching Bruce Wayne how to fight. Mm-hmm. So just thinking of that, like he doesn't necessarily have to teach Bruce Wayne how to fight here unless it's a flashback, but he could just show that he can stand up and actually do stuff, because we haven't seen Alfred actually stand up and do stuff in the older movies. Right. So this would be nice for him to be okay with walking out into the field, actually understand. It's like it reminds him of his military days. Like it's just, you could see that rough Alfred.
Yeah, I think that's pretty badass. You know, I definitely want to see him going up against any enemies or anything like that. But to see him, you know, fixing up the Batmobile, you know, to see him fixing up Bruce Wayne and stuff like that, and maybe even like chastising him, you know, like because Jeremy Irons is a tough guy. Like you know, he's a little bit older and stuff. He actually, his roles have always been very stern, you know, like father figurely. So I think it'd be really crazy to see. I'm just so excited for that movie in general. You know, last story really quick is that Roberto Orci has left Star Trek 3.
Yes.
I thought I had a picture up there, but we don't. How crucial is it for them to find a new director?
Okay, so Roberto Orci is going to be his first film, first directing film, and I think him making a part 3 is a little too much for him, especially since closing off the trilogy. So I think they needed a little more experienced director, but it is very needed, because Star Trek is still, you know, still loved, and a lot of people will feel that J.J. Abrams abandoned it, which is a problem. We can't allow that to happen, because Star Trek is a franchise they want to keep going. So they have to find a good director that knows what they're doing, that knows the world, and could actually keep it going. So him leaving really sucks, because he could do something. I don't know what he would do, but he understands the universe, which is a great thing. But it's just, I think it's just time for somebody bigger, like than that he left. It's just we need somebody who's actually more experienced, especially in the sci-fi world.
Yep.
Let's not get Ridley Scott.
Yeah, I was thinking like this. I just don't want him to get like Michael Bay versus.
Oh wow, he's not doing Transformers, so he could probably jump into this.
That's what I'm a little worried about. But yeah, you pretty much said all right there. So that's gonna wrap up this episode of Film Rundown. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let us know your comments, opinions about a lot of these movies that are coming out, especially this whole Sony hack, the Spider-Man ordeal, all that kind of stuff. And make sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Goodbye Dudley.